So, I mean, I think it's also been spending money, which was which is a difficult thing to do at one point because I was like afraid a little bit. I was like, damn, I'm about to spend $6,000 on leads a month. Like that's that's a decent amount. I have a mortgage to pay. I have my family to take care of. Like I'm the primary breadwinner. So knowing that I was going to pick up all these finances, it was a little scary.
If you want to thrive in this industry successful, welcome to VIPAs, the game plan call.
P, thank you so much for joining us today. Well, I should call you Pamela for professional reasons, but I know you've been with our organization for since I think since us transitioning because we came from the practice company. You were
Mm-hmm.
active there, and then you were still working real estate, went full time, part time. You started getting on the phones probably around like July or August of last year, yeah?
Yeah. So
Okay.
coming up.
Just to give everyone a little bit of background on Pamela, right? So, how old are you, Pamela?
22.
22 now. You just turned 22 last month.
Last one.
Yeah, wish your happy birthday. I swear to God, to wish your happy birthday. Pamela story is unique. Um, it's not every day that you see someone in, your generation, our generation, as to say, being able to sort of accomplish the things that you've been able to accomplish. 18 years old, I know you bought your first home, right? For you
Mhm.
take care of your mother, you take care of your grandmother. Um, you were one of Chicago's youngest, most well-known and reputable real estate agents at that age. And then I believe you went full time for the first time last month in the
Mhm.
insurance industry, and you dropped $34,000 in production. Did I miss anything?
No, that's everything.
Okay, it's insane,
30,000.
right? So to give everybody a little bit of clarity, right? Um, Sales experience it goes a long way. Um, but there's obviously a reason why, a lot of people are sort of questioning in this climate of the market that we're in as to like what path should they pursue. Like everyone's trying to get their real estate license. Everyone's trying to, get into real estate somehow, some which way. But the statistic was this, and I know you were able to weather that storm. Um, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think like what 97% of real estate agents didn't even sell a home last year or something. Is that
It's like 97% first year, and then like we quit in the first year too. Like not much agents make it after. I think after 2 years, most agents don't make it. And it takes an average agent about like 8 months to sell their first home.
insane?
So
Insane
yeah.
compared to like your first 30 days, first 90 days being in this business, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of want to just get right into it. Kind of want to give the goal for today is to sort of give our organization the most amount of clarity when it comes to transitioning from working part-time and what kind of action steps need to be taken in order for them to go full-time, right? You're obviously a great proponent of doing so. So let's start with the fact that what originally brought you from real estate into the insurance space and what attracted you to stay? Because you were in real estate for a long time. You were in, how long? Like 2, 3 years, right?
Yeah, like 2, 3 years. I think I'm coming up in my third year.
There you go. So you haven't taken a risk like switching your entire career path in a long time, right? So
Right.
trying to give everyone a little bit of magnitude of that. But talk a little bit about that. Like what brought you into real estate and the insurance space and what attracted you to stay?
So I bought my first home when I was 18. I fell in love with real estate after that. I got my license. Shortly after, I joined a team. My first year in real estate, I sold like 25 homes. And I was pretty much on the seller side of it too. So I was already kind of used to cold calling because I would work with for sale by owners. So like if you're not familiar with for sale by owners, it's people who want to sell their homes without an agent. So they're already kind of hard to convince to use an agent. So I did that for a few years, and I mean, I was doing fairly well in real estate. It wasn't like I was, on the other side of it or anything. But I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the whole commission thing changed. I I met Ion, right? You right? I had a seminar at an insurance agency, which is so funny because I wasn't even thinking about insurance at all. I was just trying to teach, like this, people how they should buy a first home, what they should do, things like that. And I met Ion. So we spoke a little bit, a few months went past by, and then the commission thing set. So now real estate agents, they don't have to be paid commission, if depending on some regulations from each states. So everything changed basically drastically. I was still doing okay, but Ion reached out to me. We spoke, we talked, and we game planned, but we game planned from the very, very beginning. So even before I made the change, even before I came into insurance, I was like, what even is insurance? I don't understand it. Like, why? Like, I'm doing great in real estate. Why do I need to make this? But when I realized that I was making more in 3 hours than I was in real estate, because real estate's like chunk money. Like you can make $12,000 in 1 month, but when you really break it down and you see everything you have to go through when it comes to escrow, houses not closing, constantly driving to places, people changing their minds, financing, all these different things, and then you're working all that, and then you don't get compensated for anything. So when I was introduced to insurance, what really attracted me was I can get paid quicker, more quicker than 30-day payout after escrow. One, I can make a lot more money by just being home and making sales and making calls. My mindset was I'd rather be hung up on than drive an hour away and then someone cancel their showing on me. And now I just drove an hour and I spent gas on that when someone just hung up on me and I'm home. So it was a lot of different things. Also, the amount of income you can make more. It's less capped in real estate. I mean, the most highest you can go in real estate is probably the managing broker, and even then, substantially, it's not as much as being in insurance and being in the insurance industry. So it was things like that. I mean, it really came down to what was more beneficial for me. I mean, real estate is great, it's glamorized, but I always said the only way to actually make money in real estate is investing into it. Now, if you're a broker, you're very capped. I think the average real estate agent makes about 60 to 80,000. So, I mean, that's good, but not what I wanted, really.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah.
So, so then you obviously you had that grand realization that obviously the insurance space made a little bit more sense for you. What kind of things led up to you coming to that realization? Like obviously, so you were, I think when we initially had spoke, the first step was to fix your real estate business, right? Or like not even fix it because you were already knew what you were doing, but it was more so about leveraging um, you know, other individuals to sort of take on most of like the tedious day-to-day work, the busy work, like HD likes to say.
Yeah.
Um, so then you obviously started selling in July and August. So like what kind of grand realization did you come to amends with to be able to sort of start to slowly understand that the insurance space seemed to make a little bit more sense?
I just saw potential in no cap renewals and less waiting for a paycheck. I really like that I could leverage not just hustling one time, but I mean, I could make so much more money. It was just the cap that was it for me. Um, that's what really sold me on it. I mean, I'm working so hard to sell these houses. I mean, I could put that same amount of time and effort and I can sell 5 policies and make what I can make in one paycheck. Like, and that's in one day, let's just say, right? So it was things like that that really led to this is going to bring you more financial stability than real estate. Because if they're both commission based jobs, at the end of the day, you both have to still hustle. And like you said, you're busy work and things like that. But I mean, it just came down to what made more sense for me.
No doubt. Now, but I want to kind of talk a little bit about tactical, right? Like tactical approach. Like, how did you manage your time and like energy between real estate and insurance? 'Cause I remember like you would literally you'd be texting me, you'd be like, "Yo, I'm going on a showing. I'll be back. I gotta run a sit later this evening too." So I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. And I would make sure that we checked on you, make sure you were good. Like, 'cause it was a lot. It was a lot. I can imagine it was definitely a lot for you. So how did you like manage your time?
Yeah.
How did you manage your
So I leveraged, right? I try to leverage as much as I could. So I believe my schedule when I was part-time was I was here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then I think Thursday, Friday, no wait. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was doing real estate, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I was doing insurance.
Mhm.
I managed my time in that way. Yeah, I was working, so I worked 7 days a week, basically. That never stopped. When I was on weekends, that's when I would do showings for most people because that's when people like had days off, they could actually see houses. And then during the week, I would do insurance. I mean, I was on lead assist for a while too, so I was just stacking up my small checks. I was tracking everything. I was reinvesting wisely. I started to live a lot more like frugally as well because I knew I had to make that transition. And I looked at my own finances and I realized how much I spend on a daily, how much can I afford to spend now, because I knew that at the end of the day I wanted to transition into insurance full time. So I had to break down my finances. I was on lead assist. I leveraged my time a lot. I had other agents do showings for me if I couldn't do a showing. Um, it was just I did as much as I could where it wasn't just me. But when I was here, I was here. That's the thing. Like when I was in insurance and I was selling and I put my headset on, I was selling insurance. Like you if you're part time, you have to act like it's full time. You can't or it's not gonna work. You
Mhm.
have to. Like if you have 4 days, let's just say I think I had 4 days where I was in insurance. I had 4 days where I was gonna sell a policy regardless. I think even those few months, I think my average was like 10,000. I think
Yeah.
10,000 a month leading to it. So I knew I had to sell, right? It was that important for me.
Yeah. And you had the data to be able to prove it, right? You
Yeah.
were rigorously tracking your data, right?
Yeah.
If you'd come on, like you said, right? Even sometimes you get texts from like other sort of clients for the real estate side. Like, okay, but you'd still make time like push that aside while you're focusing on insurance. Like you'd tell them like, "Yo, let's talk on the weekend," or whatever it may be. Right? If you had to
Yeah.
handle like an emergency call, of course you would take it.
Yeah.
But that's something called code switching, which is like where you have to sort of change your personality to fit the situation that you're in right now. Um, so I mean that's definitely huge, right? I think that's where a lot of people, maybe you can attest to this. A lot of people kind of go south when it comes to like taking that kind of risk, right? Or they'll
Mhm.
just bite the bullet and just quit their job and then get into this and sort of figure it out. But that's not the most smartest thing to do, right? It's gonna be tough before it gets easy. And even when it gets easy, it's still going to have some sort of tough elements within it, right? So like you're going to be tested regardless. But you work your 9 to 5, and then you have to work your 5 to 9 until your 5 to 9 becomes your 9 to 5, right? At some point. But in that middle ground is where a lot of people like break, um, sort of pursue something as amazing as this. So like what kind of like obviously you're also like I said, you've been taking care of your grandmother, you've been taking care of your mom, you're also taking care of your health, right? Like what kind of specific habits, routines, strategies did you build while being part-time that made your transition possible in the first place?
Yeah, 100%. It really was. It's gonna sound so cliche, but it really was my mindset. Because I knew what the hardest thing for me was transitioning into this full time was, and this is when I spoke to mentors, I spoke to you, I spoke to Harold, I spoke to everybody. Was I had already built a foundation in real estate. I already had it known, I already had clientele, I already had everything I needed. So making the switch to insurance and basically starting all over again was a hard thing for me to process because now I knew I had to build from the bottom up again. But I changed my mindset there and I realized it was just me pivoting into something completely different, but not at the same time. I mean, we're already in sales, I already know how to sell in a way. Obviously, insurance and real estate are two different things, but I've been in that sales industry. So it was a huge mindset thing. I also came off of social media for like 6 months. I've been off social media for 6 months too. So I focused completely on my own self, my own mindset, my personal growth. I didn't have many bad habits, but I let all bad habits go. I focused my financial situation. Like I told you, I started to live a lot more frugally. I didn't have unnecessary spending when I knew I had to save as much money because I had a foundation. It's like 1 or 2 months where when I made that transition full time, I had enough to pay, even though maybe my commissions didn't go through or something got stuck in underwriting. So it was all that.
Mhm.
Fun.
That's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. Because Like you definitely plan that ahead of time. Like the biggest thing for a lot of new people who are trying to go part-time to full-time, it's like you definitely need to have at least enough income saved for 90 days of expenses. Like not a rainy day fund. You need to make sure that you have that money put aside so that way while you're transitioning from going part-time into full-time in this space, if let's just say, somehow something goes left, at least you have that to be able to cover your expenses. You still have enough to be able to put food on the table for the kids. You still have enough to be able to put gas in the car, to be able to take to go wherever you need to go, like pay your rent, all those things, because you're building a business. Like in any
Mhm.
business, even if we're looking at like a corporate level, like it's level 10, um, you're looking at venture capital, right? Like they when they're obviously going to like their funding, they're looking at businesses to invest in. They also the businesses that are pitching to them are also accounting for the time it's going to take for the business to take off, right? In simple terms. And there's a certain amount of capital that needs to be allocated uh, throughout that timeline to be able to account for that those kind of so-called losses, right? That loss of time, I guess. But that's huge. So what I heard you say is that you basically your biggest mindset shift was having to sort of let go of the foundation or transition that foundation from going
Mhm.
part-time into going full-time. Um, and then, so what led up to that? So like, what kind of key factors led up to you making that leap in full-time in insurance in March?
So when I
Really,
transitioned, I
really, you were gonna go full-time. No, you went full-time in February, not
right.
March. Right.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
supposed to
okay,
go
so yeah,
in.
because you were gonna go full-time in March, but you
Yeah.
decided to go full-time in February. So what kind of key factors led you to make that leap?
So it was actually a convention. Um, when I was at convention and I seen that all walks of life were walking and doing these numbers and all these things, it really hit me. I was like, wow, if they could do it, I could do it. Not to like, that was one huge thing too. And then also like it's never gonna be a perfect time. I think that was my biggest, I don't know what I was waiting for. I guess it was more like my financial thing, but I think it was just the mindset thing I had in my head stuck in where I was like, I can't do this yet. And I remember specifically day one of the convention, I had texted my team lead for my real estate and I told him, hey, can we talk? This was day one of the convention. I already had a whole different mindset. And then it was a couple of days went by, I think day three of the convention. I had called him and we kind of spoke about it. And I spoke to Alea, she's one of my downlines here. We were sitting in the car that we had, a rental that we had, and we were staring outside. And I told her, I'm like, I'm doing this full time now. What am I waiting for? It's never gonna be a perfect time to start. And you just do it. I was making more in 3 hours of insurance than a week in real estate, especially when deals would fall through. Like everything was there. I had the great thing about this and insurance, which I really appreciate, is with real estate, I didn't have that much resources in a way. And here it's very plug and play. So really all I had to do was just do it. And that was my wake up call where I was like, and I texted you too. I was like, hey, we're going this full time. And you were like, what the heck? We were supposed to do this next month because we had planned it. But I was just like, Pam, what are you waiting for? And I don't regret it at all, but I landed. As soon as I landed the day after, I sat down with my one of my managing broker and I spoke to them and I said, hey, I'm gonna put my license on referral status. I'm not even gonna just do really like everything's gonna be on referral status. I'll still make some money here, but I'm not dealing with clients anymore. And that was that. And here we are. So yeah.
You were able to inspire Leah, your agent, to do that because she was also going to be, going part-time too. She was going to go full-time too. So I mean that's a beautiful part about it. I think both you guys went full-time at the same time.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about this though. So yeah, obviously then you went to convention, you decided to go full-time. Now let's talk about systems, tools, workflows, leads, like how did that help you stay consistent throughout the juggling phase? Like, what was your strategy, like the lead strategy? Um, what kind of systems did you leverage? Tools, workflows, those things to be able to like sort of start doing this full time. And then also what contributed to you being able to write that 34,000 your first month going full time? Because you were averaging like 10 to 15 while also being in real estate. But then when you went full time, fully intentful, like you said earlier, fully intentional in insurance, you were able to do that. So talk a little bit about the strategy in terms of financials, how are you tracking everything, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have like sheets. I have sheets where I just track everything on like my numbers, how much I'm profiting, how much I'm spending on leads and things like that. I believe the first month going into it, I think I was buying my own leads too. I was doing like eat those cards. What else was I doing? Eat those cards, HMP here and there. Then um I got on Facebook ads, and that was like ever changing. It was like I found my niche because more it was Spanish, so I was running Spanish. I'm running Spanish Facebook ads, and going into there, I had the CRM, so I was doing automations with my CRM. I got a Hall of Fame account too. So my Hall of Fame account, I put that on a credit card, and have that every week, sending out 1,000 mailers. So my Hall of Fame account, my Facebook ads. I basically found my niche. I think sometimes on my niche, sometimes people I think want to do everything. But you should find something that you're really good at and stick to it. I think it's good to be resourceful and be able to close every different type of lead type. But when you're good at one thing, I think you should try to continue and grow and be that. And that's what I did with even Facebook. I think the first 2 weeks when I was on Facebook ads, I was doing okay because I was still learning how to talk to these people. I was strategizing. But as I go, I've learned more. Now I'm doing a lot of one call closes with Facebook ads. It's a lot of resources, but everything that we have here, the CRM has been super helpful. I use that. The power dialer. It's like CallX. I'll have my Facebook ads going on the power dialer, and they're just going, and I one call close them. So, I think it's also been spending money, which was which is a difficult thing to do at one point because I was like afraid a little bit. I was like, damn, I'm about to spend $6,000 on leads a month. Like that's that's a decent amount. I have a mortgage to pay. I have my family to take care of. Like I'm the primary breadwinner. So knowing that I was going to pick up all these finances, it was a little scary. But I will say, like they say, lead flow is cash flow. And it was just showing myself that I can close it. Like I believe in myself that I can spend $6,000 on leads and then we're going to spend it. It's just giving me more opportunities to talk to people. You don't know what's going to come out of it. I could talk to one person and sell a $5,000 policy. You never know, right? So it's just being intentional, really. I used all of our resources. I started spending money. I think lead assist is great, but if you can get off of it at one point and start spending your money, you're actually going to value what you have, right? Because I think sometimes the mindset with lead assist is that it's not my money. I'm not really spending on it, so I don't really care to run the leads. But when you're actually spending money on your leads, you're going to work them. At least that's how, I think a lot of people think, but yeah, I was just using all of our resources that we had here and going into it.
Yeah,
Simplifying approach. Yeah.
and you're gonna profit more too. Like you're just gonna see much better returns, right? Like it's one thing to see like when you're on lead assist, like obviously you're giving up 30%. Like it's such a humbling thing because like when you're someone who knows how to close and like you see that 30% of your net like profit is going to somebody like the person who's financing your leads, like it's humbling, right? And it kind of and you start doing the math and you start to realize like, oh my God, like how much could I have kept if I just paid for my own leads, right? How much could I have profited, you know? So okay, so you talked about you had a CRM, that you had the power dialer,
Mm-hmm.
you're running Hall of Fame, you're running Ethos cards, you're running Facebook leads, right? But then you shaved it down to what? Like now, because you obviously you're all over the like not all over the place, but like you were sort of trying
What
to
is
figure
it? Yeah, so my niche ended up just being like Facebook ads. So I'm running Facebook ads. That I still have my Hall of Fame account too, but I have my Hall of Fame account more so like when maybe the Facebook ads are a little low. I mean, it's good to have, variance, but yeah, just Facebook ads, Spanish Facebook ads, and Hall of Fame. That's been my latest.
Okay. Okay. Now, big proponent of that too, because sometimes, I mean, we'll even see you close a deal at like 11 p.m., 10 p.m. because you're in Central Time Zone. So
Yeah.
what's going on there? Like, how are you being able to do that? Like, what kind of strategies have you been able to implement there? Talk a little bit. Like, I want you to seriously emphasize on schedule too, because the thing with you, you're a big proponent of that. Like, you're somebody who's on the call intentfully from 8:30 a.m. Central Time. I mean, obviously we take our break in the middle of the day, but like, and then you're off until like 9, 10 p.m. So like, talk a little bit about that. And then, yeah, emphasize on schedule a little bit. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, schedule's so important. I sound like a broken record player. Probably everybody says this, but you cannot treat this like I know, yay, like you have your own schedule, but you have to have some type of structure for it. I'm big on time blocking, right? So like I wake up. I actually have my schedule right here. I'm gonna read it,
You want to share it?
but
You can
it's on
share
my
it.
phone. But at
Oh,
5 a.m., I wake up, recharge, get ready for the gym. I'm at the gym at 6 a.m. I start getting ready at 7 a.m. I have breakfast at 8 a.m. And then 8:30 to it's my morning lead dialing session. Then we have that break, right? We eat, do what I need to do. My lunch and unplug, I eat at 1 o'clock for an hour. And then I do underwriting and admin work from 2 to 3. 4 p.m., I go outside for a walk. Sometimes I need like a brain break. And then from 4 to 8, I'm back locked in and dialing again. Morning dialing, I'm usually getting people so I can talk to them in the afternoon. Or if I can one call close them that moment because people are getting ready for work, people are taking their kids to school. So it's a good time where they're still, and then obviously at 4 o'clock, people are starting to settle home, they're getting back from school, from work, whatever it is they're doing. So it's a great time to call. And then from 8 to I'm eating. And then from 9 o'clock, I'm actually still sitting here on my computer and I'm doing anything else I need to do, whether that be deep work, whether that's looking at more underwriting cases, whether that is if I have somebody else who maybe is in a different time zone, like I have some clients who are like in Arizona, which is 2 hours ahead of me. So for me, I'll be 10 o'clock when it's 8 o'clock their time. So I mean, I adjust to whatever their really calendar is. But I mean, I'm able to work different types of time zones too, which is great, right? Because if I want to stay up, and just start dialing from like, and sometimes I will, Falea, I'll be on with her on my Zoom and we'll be calling Alaska leads because you can still call them. I think our time is we can stop calling them at like 11 or 12 because they're about 3 hours behind us. So, I mean, I take advantage of every single minute. Every minute counts realistically. I'm very big on that. Like I'm doing this during this time and your schedule is super important because if you're not and if you're not organized, I mean, your business isn't going to be organized. You're not going to be organized. It's just all gonna fumble.
yep.
So,
It's gonna
yeah.
implode. That's the biggest thing. Is like, we talk about it all the time. Like the beautiful part about our business as a whole is like it is a business where like, okay, if you have an emergency, this is the mindset that one has to adopt, while being here. Even looking at HD, his dynamic with him and his family, right? Like on the phone, he's on the computer the whole day. Like, and this man runs the agency on the computer from 8 a.m. to like 9, 10 p.m. Gets up in the middle of the day sometimes. If you want, sometimes he'll eat. Maybe. Has all the opportunity in the world to do it. Doesn't really care to do it. Him and his wife, they'll spend time with each other. They have family dinners like once a week, 2 weeks, twice a week. Right? They'll like go out with the family, and that's when he code switches and he like changes his mindset in the family. And then when his kids come home from school, he goes and picks them up from school, drops them off in the morning, comes back, and he's code switching again. So it's like this is a business, ladies and gentlemen. Like if you are working at like all that stuff you see on Instagram, the financial freedom, and you get to go on yacht parties, those things come way later. And even that, those people are literally on that boat and they're still probably working. Like they're still working while they're on that boat. They're still working while they're on vacation. Like that that's just the problem with social media is that it portrays this image that's not real. Like there is real work that goes into this, right? The beautiful part about it, the only beautiful part about it, that can sort of pull you away from the schedule and like not having to have anyone hold you accountable is the fact that if you have an emergency, if something ever does come up, or like, you have to go and take your kid to like, his game because the missus isn't able to, like what that is fine. Like go and do that, right? Because like that's an emergency. Like you have to do those things. And no one is gonna call your phone and tell you, yo, like where are you at? Like you need to be here. No, like go handle that. But then be ready once you drop them off, you're back to code switching. You're back to, work mode, right? Because this business will not slow down. It's just like any other business. It's not just this business. Real
Mhm.
estate, digital marketing, SaaS, any business you get into, it will eat you alive. It will eat you up and spit you out if you do not stay up with the Joneses. The business you have to create a certain amount of momentum to be able to get yourself in a position where you can sort of remove yourself from the business and sort of focus on bigger picture things. But most of the time it's like I said, even HD is not even doing that. So if he's not doing that, he owns the agency. If he does not do that, why the hell? No one else should be doing that, right? Like there's no reason, right? Because he was doing the same thing. So, no, a huge piece. Like I know we talk about schedule all the time. But I think sometimes people sort of overlook the magnitude of like what could possibly happen if they don't. Like you can get that guaranteed 6K a month check from working 40 hours a week for sure. Or you can work that same 40 hours on your own time on a weekly basis, and make double, if not triple, right? With also the opportunity to go and deal what you need to deal with when it comes to your family. Like, you're not having to work from an office even. Like a lot of our competitors too, like they have to go into an office. They have to do a lot of those things. We don't have to. But the biggest thing and where people kind of sort of fall short is like as soon as they quit their jobs, it's like, oh, now no one can tell me what to do. Now no one, and that's where things get dangerous. Oh, but I got lead assist. No, you don't. Not for long. Not for long. You still have to produce. Once you have to put your own money where it needs to be in order for you to scale your business, at that point it's going to come down to you doing the work. Like it's still work. Like yeah, there's beautiful parts about this business, but it still takes work. Like anything else. Believe me, 24 years old, trying to pursuing at least failed at least 10 businesses before even getting in this industry. I swear to God, nothing has not been taken work. Nothing has not been able to like you're having to work like, and even at that point, like still putting in like what 40, 50, sometimes even 100 plus hours on a weekly, if not two weekly basis, right? Like it's not a joke, but it's just a different sort of trajectory. If you just want to produce, that's different. If you want to produce, you have a different type of life that you need to live, right? You just have to, have a routine, focus on yourself. There's that. If you want to manage, that's a different beast in itself. Now you're in a position where people are taking a bet on you. Our job as managers is to get people paid. That is my job. People won't say that, oh no, this person, they're accountable for their own thing. Yeah, for sure, I understand. But our job is to get them paid. If they're showing up on a schedule every single day, if they're making sure that they're doing their part, they're hitting their dials, they're unmuting, they're sharing their screen, all those things, our job is to get them paid, right? But no, this is the number one thing with you is like, and a lot of like the most successful people within our agency is like the fact that it's nothing special. It's nothing special. Like nobody here is like special, respectfully. Don't take this the wrong way, Anthony, right? But it's like it's just a matter of time. Like people have just like America has put in years into this business. HD has put in years into this business. And it's just years of rigorous just going through the mud, coming back out, going back in. Like it's just, that's just what it is. Like you have to have a schedule. You will, and I just want to emphasize this enough. You will not survive in this business without a schedule. I want you to feel the weight of my words when I tell you that. You will not survive. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. You won't do it. So if that means that just like how you had to do with your mom, right? You had to have a conversation with her and explain to her, hey, mom, like this is a time when I can do this, and this with you, but this is a time for me to work so that way we can put, money on the table, we can put food on the table, right? Same thing needs to be happening with spouses, right? Like, okay, you know, this is the time when I can sort of help out with the kid stuff. This is the time when we need to work in order for us to get from this point to this point. You have to have buy-in from your spouse. You and your spouse have to be singing the same tune. Um, Otherwise, like if things aren't good at home, which you've had your fair share of dealings with, Pamela, um, the business doesn't, you won't be able to run the business, right? So there's that. Now, so this is another thing I want to ask you is like, so other than the schedule piece, right? You're obviously tracking your data. You're obviously tracking your expenses. Um, what did you create your own sort of spreadsheet, or do you have like some sort of app that you're using? Like what exactly are you doing to sort of track your data, like in terms of your performance, and then obviously track your expenses? And then how are you separating your business expenses from your personal expenses to ensure that both things are in a good space, on a good spot?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have some spreadsheets that I created myself. One's like my insurance like tracker where I have the policy and then I have it actually pull it up here. 1 second. Sorry. So my tracker has an income summary, so it's my commissions, my lead investment, my chargebacks, and then my total profit. And then I have my submitted AP versus my approved AP, and then commissions I have on there. So that's one tracker that I have. And then SureHelp I have for KPIs, obviously to know what like my average policy, how many dials I have to do, what's my lead spend, how so I can get to a close, my close ratio. So it's all data tracking, right? So like SureHelp for all my like KPIs, my own tracker for my own expenses, and then I have another tracker for my monthly expenses, like what I spend on a month. That's whether that's my mortgage, that's my light bill, all my things. And then I have one day out of the month, I actually did this yesterday, where I'll sit down and I'll go through all my expenses for the next coming month and know, okay, this is how much I need to close. This is how much AP I'm doing. Now I'm thinking in my head too, this is how much AP I need and how much issue paid I need to actually pay my expenses and pay my bills. So staying organized. I try to do it at least every Sunday. I try to check in and see my own finances and see how I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, numbers is very important. You're gonna fail if you don't keep track of that. Because then if you don't do that, now you don't even know what's coming in. Like imagine, like, and then if you start selling more policies and you start doing more things, like you're gonna go the other way. You're gonna now things are gonna get chargebacks. I keep track of everything so I can stay on top of it. Yeah.
Hmm. You're your own accountant. You're your own chief of operations. You're your
Yeah.
own, yeah, all of those things. You're playing every role of the business in your own business, and now you're also doing it for somebody else too, because you're also you have an agent as well that is doing amazing things, just due to your guidance, right? So this business is beautiful, but it's definitely just not. It's not like and it becomes a cheat code eventually. Like yes, there's beautiful pieces about it, but it's just gonna take rigorous, mad work, especially in the beginning, right? There's a saying that like, well, obviously as we already know, people lie, men lie, women lie, numbers don't, right? So staying on top of that is huge. Last thing before we wrap up today and start taking in some questions, what is one tough truth that part-time agents need to hear if they say they want to go full-time but aren't taking action yet? Minus the schedule, other than that.
What's one tough thing they need to realize, you're saying?
What's one tough thing that part-time agents need to hear that they like if they say they want to go full-time but they haven't taken the action to do so yet?
I want to say it can come from a lack of confidence too, right? So I mean, be honest with yourself. That's where that huge thing that I said that sold me is you can't wait for the perfect moment. It's never going to be a perfect moment. It's like you say, okay, I'm gonna do it on this day. And then that day comes and maybe something went wrong that day. So now I'm gonna wait till this day and this day and this day and this day and this. It's never gonna be a perfect time. So you just have to prove it to yourself that you can be consistent. Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe have like small little like wins, celebrate your small wins. No, I'm starting to close this, build your skill set. But honestly, I don't think I could really survive in this business if I was still doing real estate. It would have been very, very difficult. So you have to come to a point where you do one thing. I mean, do you believe in yourself? Like ask yourself that. And if you don't believe in yourself, I mean, you have an upline, you have guidance, you have all resources to be able to believe in yourself, right? Because there was times where me, like even if I'm closing, I look at my week and I'm like, damn, I could have done so much better, right? but you always have to be a student of the teacher and learn and talk to people. I mean, if you're a quiet agent, if you're a silent agent, you're never going to learn. If you're not unmuting, if you're not talking to people, you're never going to learn. You sometimes you have to swallow your ego, which I think is a really hard thing for people to do, but you have to do it because you're not going to grow like that. And if you are the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. So it's a huge thing that you need to start realizing and just do it. I mean, what are you waiting for? Realistically, like it's just that's what came down for me. I was just like, I gotta freaking do it. So yeah.
And you're calculated. You were
Yeah.
calculated out when it came to making your transition. That's another big thing. Like once you saw the numbers, that's when you decided that like it made a little bit more sense to you. Like we broke down the numbers, we forecasted the data. It's like what kind of inputs needed to happen. Like, first, we started with like what are your overhead expenses? What are the overhead expenses that are needed in order for you to just survive? Right? Okay, cool. That's the end. That's what the dots are at the end, right? You can't connect. Steve Jobs said this. HD is a big proponent of this. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Okay, so the last dot is your overhead expenses. Okay, so looking backwards, now what are we looking at? We're looking at the KPIs in terms of how many pre-sales need to be get on, how much AP needs to issue, how much, all those things in order for you to cover your bare minimum. Anything above that, then that we've done a good thing. We've done a great thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we forecasted, okay, for 90 days, if you continuously, do this schedule, right? The schedule is a huge proponent of that. That's the baseline foundational piece. Once that schedule is established, the KPIs are being hit. Now we're focusing on growth. So by the end of those 90 days, what kind of growth can we expect if we continue to move on this trajectory, right? And that's exactly what you did. And you literally you calculated everything. And honestly, for you, it seemed to have worked out sooner rather than later. You had a 90-day time frame. You did it way fast. You did it in your first month, right? Just from calculating and moving strategically and moving with intent, which is the most important thing. So, no, but with no further ado, I think, Pamela, this was amazing. This was amazing. I think, people got a little bit more clarity. I do want to open it up for questions if that's okay with you. But with no further ado, I appreciate you so much for your time. I can't wait to see what you're going to do within this organization. And hopefully we'll see you on stage next year too.
Yeah.